I have never repeated anything. I've already actually sent up the first portion of this documentary explanation because once I encounter it, it was never been a brainer. I don't really need to think hard about it. It was very obvious, so I already presented the first portion or first part of this discovery, and the second portion I didn't actually do it, so I decided to resume it. But I never actually, had creeped off from dictionaries or other books to think about it. It's very obvious. Let me actually show you. I don't really need to. How functions our insurance? How our insurance function? I don't need to think twice about it. Principle. Many more people insured who actually pay in a one pool, then that would actually be helpful when each person would actually be affected and damaged. Then this could actually widen the cost by minimizing the payment for each damaging case. I don't really need to think about how one can actually make a distinction from the private insurance and the public insurance in the case of accident. I don't need to think about it. It's very obvious. I don't really need to think about anything. I'm not lying. Yeah. Oh yes, video. Very thirsty calves. The fight against animal transportation by transferring animal from one region to another with no proper protection for minimum animal rights. Because animals are likely to be abused. Calves. CALVES in English. Iris and a farmer gardeners fights off against animal transportation. As calves are actually being brought over the European continent, involving 1,000 kilometers journey with no proper care for them. This would actually mean torture for an animal. So far, the European Union allows the long-distance transportation for animals when these calves, tiny calves, would actually be cared after 9 hours of confinement and detention in the car. However, against that, huge portion of calves would actually be killed or affected or violated because this type of animal protection rules are not sufficiently handled. After 9 hours of mass transportation, there would be no sufficient care and treatment for animals by feeding and nourishing them with the proper drinks and waters. No, there would actually be. These are likely to be easily violated and breached. And a Baumgartner literally means the transportation should actually be limited with much tougher legislation to crack down on the abuse and violation of animal rights. The animal protectionist follows with her own colleagues to look deeper into secretive transportation of animals. She reports over such an improper drink system. She documents such an shabby conditions, and she writes the complaints and lodges a petition by sending off a letter to authorities to reveal and divulge the utter miserable devastation undertaken by animals in the confined trucks while they were being transported. Already, she actually, sends off alarm to the police in the transportation, makes the stops, because she actually joins the actual road trip. Then she makes a phone call to police. Then the journey gets stopped because of her sneaking on. The actual report of such a control, uncared or not properly attended or tendered or not taken care of, or mistreated or devastated and ravaged animals. Those are real issues at this moment. And by the workers, Baumgartner is really one respected practitioner who's been keeping an eye on this real address of animals. In the European Parliament, she actually presents her knowledge as experts by being invited to the European Parliament and institution to hold a hearing in front of them. And this type of injustice against the animals, she actually pushes over the idea that cows are not just, byproducts, but they're treated as if they are nothing less than a commodity for milk industry, as if they are reduced into the byproducts and commodities that could be easily mistreated, Baumgartner said. In the European Union, there are more than 20 million milk cows. But without cows, there would be no milk. But cows would actually be treated as commodities and second products. Think about it. When mother cows would never be pregnant, then udders would actually be empty, right? But the European farmers, because the cows had no serious monetary value attached to them, they actually treat them as a what? Secondary byproducts. But they're actually thinking of them as commodities, which could be easily removed. Once, their milk cows and the mother cows can produce milk from their udders, right? It's really crazy. And she actually thinks that they don't deserve this type of treatment as worthless commodities. She actually sees this is not right. She really wants these animals as cows to be fed properly in the realm of animal rights. She already actually has been part of this legal legislative work to secure the animal rights for the cows who are movable and immobilized by local farmers, then which should actually be treated fairly by providing a sufficient care condition for them on the way when they are being transported from one region to another involving a long distance journey. The long-term solution suggested by Baumgartner is the course change in the agriculture politic and policy. However, so far, there would be no simple and easy continual way. Above all, her goal is literally the limitation of the transportation undertaken or accepted by the young animals for more than 8 hours. That would not be possible. She really wants to obtain the goal of interdicting the long-lasting journey that should be taken by young animals like calves, more than 8 hours on the road straight forward in a row. That should actually be limited. Then above that should not be possible. I don't really need to think about it. What if I actually made a mistake? Because many of milk farmers, these animals are so worthless because they're nothing but a burden. They're actually really meaningless because the cows would never create any value, and they were just actually making off their own food. Nah, they're actually only consuming their own products by eating off more foods that should actually be removed. Against that, Baumgartner claims that they should be fed properly on their way instead of being transported to different regions for sacrifice or slaughter. Because many industry farmers perceive the cows as a meaningless byproduct who would normally eat up much greater amount of food than anything without creating of values. For that reason, they should be slaughtered or they should be sacrificed for high quality meat packing industry products. That's what has been viewed as a butcher substance, right? But that's not right. The animal rights are being abused once they actually perceive the cows as a minimum or byproducts that come with no property or value attached to it.